Welcome to the new show. Hot takes, as we did this digitally before. We started hot takes, and I thought we'd bring it to the studio. Did an episode with Colleen last week. It's good to have you on, mate. And a lot's happened this week. Man United being dumped out of the Champions League early. Embarrassingly, really. They didn't really lay a glove on Ati in the second half. They didn't look great themselves, but we're gone. Season over, no game for 3 weeks. You know, what happens next? Fans going mental. And we're obviously going to take a look at this weekend's games and a few other talking points. But on Manchester United, Lias, like, where's your head at right now with the club?
Wow. It varies from moment to moment. Right now, honestly, it's just kind of acceptance that this is what Man United are. The season is over. Even if by some miracle they are able to salvage top four, which at this point really isn't in their hands anymore. It's completely in Arsenal's. The season is done in March, which is really crazy to say when you think about where the club were in the summer, where it looked like the trajectory was heading. But last night, for me, kind of just sums up the season, really. A lot of players that huff and puff, a manager that has good ideas in principle, but at the end of the day, there are bigger problems than just the 11 players on the pitch and the manager on the sideline. There is a cultural problem at the club, and last night didn't tell us anything new. We definitely knew what team we were before, and we know what team we are after. And I think, honestly, the best part about it is that we won't have to play a Bayern or a City, because I think that would have been true humiliation. Last night was honestly a result that was coming.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And I wanted to go through, and I wanted to be in the next round. Of course I did. But as you say, we would have been at some point annihilated and embarrassed to... Like, last night's game won't be replayed.
Never. That's not a classic.
It's not a classic game. We go out, but get slapped 7-1, 8-1 by Bayern. Even worse than that, one of our domestic rivals in City or Liverpool beat us up that badly over two. Which, by the way, they've beaten us like that. Like, City this season have beat us over two legs. What, 6-1?
6-1.
Liverpool already 5-0 up.
Going to
Anfield. So it's highly plausible that we get destroyed in that way with the weakness of this team. So I'm not happy to be out. I wanted to go through, but the season is over now, and all we've got remaining is to hope in certain games that there's a little bit of pride to be reinstilled. But I can't even, to be honest with you, I don't even see that happening, because this team is broke. It's actually broken. This team is at a point where there's almost no way back for them, because certain players look like they've mentally checked out.
Yep.
I read an interview that Anthony Martial gave. Ralph said if he keeps training like he's training, he'll play, but he didn't want to. He wanted to go.
Yeah.
Not blaming him for it. Yeah. Pogba doesn't want to be here. No. Rashford is already said he's thinking about leaving. Lingard, as an example. Lingard wants to go. There's lots of players that have checked out. There are others who I don't know. Bruno Fernandes. I think I'm seeing fair weather player mentality from him. When the going is good or when there's less pressure, he's great. As soon as it's big games, clutch moments, he goes and he disappears and he fades away. So we've got a number of players that I think lack the mentality, and I kind of put Bruno into that category. And then we have some, the Maguires, the McTominays, who I think would bend over backwards to spend the rest of their career in the first team of Man United. But I don't think they're just not good enough. And with Maguire regressing at such a colossal rate. And you said that even the feeling at Old Trafford towards Maguire was just terrible last night.
I was at the game, honestly, and listen, I think everyone who watches me knows that I have very not extreme thoughts, but very harsh thoughts on a lot of United players. I look at a lot of them, and I don't think you can win league titles with the way they currently are playing. But it was a shock to me, honestly, to see the reception, especially for the captain of the club. And I think it has been coming. It's not that I blame fans for having this reaction, because they pay good money. They're entitled to have their opinion on players. But I have never seen the reception that Harry Maguire was given yesterday. Every time he gets on the ball, the stadium just like shivers all at the same time. I used to say he instills fear amongst the back line. Nervousness. He instills fear and the nervousness amongst the whole stadium. He was cheered when he came off. And I think it just sums up Harry Maguire's Manchester United career at this moment. It looks like it's ending. It looks like the captaincy will be taken off him. I don't see how a player like that who has lost the complete faith of the Old Trafford faithful, which is usually the last thing to go, can continue as a key member of the United squad. But again, I started this off by saying I don't want to really look at one player, because again, it's just more than one player at this moment. I know United fans in particular, they love to find a scapegoat. They love to point the finger at one player. But guys, for a club that hasn't been serious in 10 years, you can give me Carabao Cup, you can give me Europa League, you can give me a Community Shield. This club hasn't been serious since the day Fergie left. That's over 10 years ago. I think we're approaching 10 years. It can never be one problematic club. I've put blame on Ronaldo. I've put blame on Oli in the past. I've put blame on Wan-Bissaka. Removing that person at the club and replacing someone who you think is better will not solve Manchester United's problems. That's the harsh reality of it, and we saw that last night.
Mate, you're spot on about that. Beyond spot on. On Maguire, I think he has to go. And what I really want to do is, again, call out I call them Glazer simps. They've definitely been sucking on the Glazer teats as of late. They've been sucking on that Glazer milk. When all these stories came out 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the stories were that there was meetings internally about the captaincy of Maguire. And I know Ralph publicly played it down, but straight away the United teat suckers, oh, see, I told you, media lies. No, these are real bona fide leaks from credible journalists. You fast forward a few weeks, the fact that a captain was being substituted when you needed to win. Maguire, look, he can come up with a goal every now and then from a corner. He's a big presence. You want to throw your big bodies into the box at the end, maybe. But you leave your leader on because you need your leader. Your captain is meant to be
untouchable.
Untouchable. Not so much your best player, but galvanizes you. The fact that Ralph was willing to pull him off,
I think
it does. And I think seeing him throw that captain's armband over, for me, that was the only good part of the night, because he shouldn't be the captain. But where you're spot on is taking the captaincy from Maguire, selling him, doesn't fix Man United.
Oh, no.
I've seen accounts today say things like, one of the hot takes I saw today, and I'm just looking at it here on my phone. It makes me laugh when I see these things, because I'm almost like, you think that's going to help? This person here says, for the rest of our season is now over. This account will be purely dedicated towards directing abuse at Maguire and Rashford. There's another one, the Showtime Reds, over 2,000 retweets and 2,000 likes. Said, retweet if you want them out of Man United, a picture of Rashford and Maguire. And I look at it and just think to myself, how, maybe you're young, but how are we still here blaming individual players for the fact we've been unserious for 10 years? If those guys leave, but we don't address the inner runnings of the club, we're back here again. And I remember on the Friday night show, phone-in shows, Twitter spaces, I've been saying this. I said this when I really went in on this stuff was on LVG, and Jose. But I said at the time, get rid of Fellaini, we won't get better. I know you guys want Rooney gone. He's finished. We won't get better. Sacking LVG won't make us better. Sacking Jose won't make us better. Sacking Oli won't make us better. We've got rid of nearly all the players that the fan base has turned on. Nearly, if you think about every player that the fan base has had a big agenda against, they've gone or they're on their way out. We are where we are. We've got rid of every manager that wasn't good enough, and we are where we are. And this isn't about I told you so, I know more. I don't know more about football than any other given person, in my opinion. Everyone's got different things. But what I do know is I've seen the way this club's been run. I know I am 100% right that the way we run this club is what's taken us backwards. And we can spend all our time attacking Rashford or Maguire all we want. But until we start focusing properly on the real problem, and at the very least, at least recognize that, there's never going to be peace, there's never going to be happiness, and there's never going to be improvement with anything that's going on at the club. And that's the sobering fact for me, is that we can hire Ten Hag. We can have Poch as his assistant. We can stick Ralph upstairs. He can have the team around him that he wants. But if their decisions aren't listened to still, and the Glazers still say, no, you're going to have who we want, we're back here again. Like, we'll be back here again, and it will be, Ten Hag's got this issue, or Poch has this issue, or Ralph was a fraud at running our club. Yeah, he was a fraud in his previous jobs. You're right. Yeah, like look how many managers and players that we've bought who have done what they've done before us and what they've done with us, and then what they've done afterwards. Most players that have gone on elsewhere have still done well, barring the players that were literally past their best. Like Rooney is an example. You know, Jose hasn't gone on to do very much as a manager, but even players from like Smalling had a resurgence. Look how many of our players went to Inter and won a league title.
All of them. Di Maria left to Manchester United, Copa America, PSG is balling.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We're in a lot of trouble, Lias. We really, really are. And obviously Bruno seems to be a big target as well now.
Brother. Yeah, listen. I'm so mixed on Bruno. And again, I know I said I wasn't gonna focus on certain players, but if we are going to, I do have opinions on players. This doesn't mean that I think they're failures and that they're not good footballers, but I do have issues with certain players. Bruno is for me the most polarizing one at the club, because how can a player in theory that contributes so much, especially in a statistical view, be a problem for a club? It's the same thing with Ronaldo. I'm sure people say with De Gea, but I do think that Bruno in particular is someone that contrasts opinions a lot. I know you personally, you tend to see the good in his performances. You tend to back him. And me personally, I came on your show, Terry. I remember after Atalanta, where for me, he spurred on the comeback against Atalanta. I thought like Ronaldo got the winning goal, Maguire got a goal, but Bruno was the guy who pushed United to that win. And since he came to the club, for the most part, he has pushed United to where they've been. Third place his first season, second place last season was exceptional. But I was someone that when Aldi left, I had my concerns about Bruno, because I said in a team where the play isn't centered around him, I had concerns about how his overall play and how his numbers would be hurt. To be honest, his numbers really haven't been hurt that much. I think he's on course to finish with the same amount of goals as he did last year, or assists, excuse me. His big chances created, his chances created are still at a high level. But I think when you look, especially in the big games, and I've been someone who my main criticism of Bruno isn't his mentality, isn't the way he tries to play the game. I think the biggest issue with him is that he's not a technically efficient player. You have players that, I think, for example, if you were to say Bruno takes 20 passes or 20 attempts to play the perfect through ball, De Bruyne, for example, takes 10. And I think in regular games, okay, you can get away with it. But in the big games, especially when United doesn't have as much of the ball, the amount of attempts you have to play the perfect ball goes down. And in Bruno's case, his efficiency will go down as well, compared to KDB, compared to, I don't know, think of the best playmakers in the world. And Bruno should be in those conversations. But in these big games in particular, and I know we had most of the ball last game against Atletico, but he was pretty much nullified. In the first leg, I thought he was completely nullified. I know he gets the through ball at the end. And in his last 3 years at the club, we have made exceptions for Bruno. We've looked at his performances and overlooked them for the most part, because at the end of the day, he'll get the final pass to a player, and that's what wins you the game. Already we're making an exception there. What about the games where he doesn't get that? Is it worth having a player that loses the ball as consistently as he does? I really struggle to justify that.
I totally get where you're coming from. And I think for me, I love Bruno Fernandes, but and I think he's brilliant, which is why, or has been brilliant, which is why my criticism for him is harsh. He is underperforming at a massive level. He is nowhere near the standard at the moment that I think he should be. Where my sympathy falls for him is that he's gone in the same direction as every top player that we've signed at this club. And they've all gone backwards. They've all not. Pogba, technically superior, hasn't delivered on a consistent 100%. Basis. And we've got lots of examples of it. And I think this is why, again, I go back to the structure of the club, who's running it. You know, I do think if you bring in a Ten Hag and you create a proper structure that's drilled and we know we're going to stick to this for a while, I think he could be successful. Whether it's with goals and assists or whether it's a little bit deeper in the team, I think he can do well still. If it isn't, though, and he isn't suited to the system we're going to play, I don't care whether he stays or not. Like, I don't care about any one individual player more than I do my club. And 100%. I think that's key. I really, really do. But the good thing is we say no game for Man United now for about 3 weeks.
Salvation.
This weekend, though, another big weekend for Arsenal, because they're away against Villa. Massive game for them.
I mean, yeah, this is probably coming out by the time Arsenal have already played Liverpool. So we don't know what's gone on here. But regardless of the result, Arsenal are kind of playing with house money a bit, because they have already kind of built up this lead away from the rest of the top 4 contenders, and they have so many games in hand left to play. Villa, though, is always a tricky game, especially Villa Park. You go there, you're always going to get a good game from them. I think, though, the way Arsenal are really heading, the direction that they're heading towards, the momentum that they've picked up, the form that all of their best players are really in, as an Arsenal fan, you should be confident going into every single game your team is playing. They really remind me right now of United of last year, the United of the year before. The momentum, the direction, the chemistry amongst the squad, the harmony around the fan base at this current moment is nothing but positive. And I'm not someone who thinks Arsenal are back per se, Because at the end of the day, finishing top 4 is a great achievement, but it's also the same thing that got Wenger the sack. That didn't keep Wenger in a job. Fans grew tired of that. And I know there's other things that go into that. There is context that has to be applied, but Arsenal will not be truly back until they are where they should be. A club that size should be challenging for major honors. They should be going deep in Europe. So I wouldn't say they're back, but the trajectory of that club is nothing but forward at the moment. And listen, Villa Park is a tough place to go, but I would back Arsenal to get 3 points there.
It looks they've got a great chance, as you say, and we don't know the result when we're recording this of the Liverpool game. They get a good result against Liverpool.
You'd have to say top 4 is
done.
Yeah,
it's done. It's done. And cement it against Villa. Go into, and do you know, international games going into its international breaks, I always find from a confidence point of view can be some of the most important matches of the season, because you get a good, even if you don't get a good result tonight, as we're recording this against Liverpool, but you beat Villa, you go away with Man United and anyone else who thinks they can still make top 4 under big pressure for the whole international break. You play first as well. Tottenham play West Ham on the Sunday. If Tottenham drop points in that game, or both, say they draw, West Ham, Spurs, Man United spend a whole 2-week period under pressure because
they have to come back.
We have to win the next game, where Arsenal can be relaxed. We've got, you know, although their games in hand were meant to be Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, because of other games being postponed because of the FA Cup, they actually make up like quite a few of their games in hand. They obviously played against Leicester on the Sunday, and then it's Liverpool, then it's Villa. They play 3 of their 4 games in hand against Man United in the space of a week. They've won 1 of them. And people should be fearful of Arsenal in the direction that they're going in. And I think you're right that the fans have got to keep their foot on the neck of the owners. They've got to keep demanding for more. They can't become lackadaisical and just expect it to happen. They have to keep the standards high to get back to where Arsenal Football Club should be, with the history, heritage, and the money they spend. But I'm looking at them now, and they're starting to develop something that I'm very jealous of. It's just a good thing that as a 36-year-old man, I've learned to harness my jealousy and to focusing it on the right things, which is I want my people to do that, as opposed to hating on them for doing it. And I don't have the green-eyed monster, but they're playing such good football. They look like they've got the bit between their teeth.
They're together. That's the thing for me. Like, they're together. Like, you look at all of their players. Watch the way they celebrate goals together. Everyone is coming together. I saw a video from a few years ago. I think it was either Wenger's last year or Emery's first year, and I think it was Alexis who scored. And I think 3 players ran over to him, and the rest are just kind of like jogging over, staying where they're at. The harmony around this Arsenal team right now. Football is a lot of things. You have to have technically great players. You have to have some of the best players in the world. But I think mentality is so important when you talk about the top level. And the mentality in this Arsenal squad, give credit to Mikel Arteta. I've been pretty harsh on him in my time here. I definitely need to see it in the big games. That's one thing I will say. In the big games, it's been too many free hits. But the mentality of Arsenal is better than their competitors, United, Spurs, you name them.
Without a shadow of a doubt, it is, mate. And I fancy them to, you know, as long as the owners keep looking to improve them. And what's great is they've changed. Arteta deserves a lot of credit. Of course, he deserves credit for the way they're playing. He's proved a lot of people, including myself, wrong. He's moved away from being so pragmatic. He's got this team looking exciting again. But you have to look at the structures, and proper Gooners will break this down for you. The internal differences. And do you know where they've backed him over certain other big clubs? Not. He wanted to get rid of some big characters.
100%.
Ozils, Williams, Aubameyangs, David Luiz.
Yeah.
And the club said yes.
Every time.
They didn't say no, he's a record signing, or no, he's the highest paid player at the club, or no, Ozil's social media presence is too powerful from a commercial standpoint. We can't afford to let him go.
And if you remember Aubameyang, he's the one who gave him the contract. He's the one who gave him the captaincy. They allowed him to rectify his own mistakes, which takes a lot. Honestly, that's a big move for the club.
It does, and we've seen that Pep's been successful, being able to rectify his own mistakes. Right. You know, there's been signings that Klopp has made that he's been able to rectify. You know, he bought in Karius. They didn't say, well, you had Karius, you can't have another goalkeeper. It's like, no, we can see you need someone better than him. Now, I know Karius was very cheap, if not free, maybe. But the point is that they've been able to rectify mistakes. Like, this guy hasn't worked, we'll bring someone else in as an example, you know. And, you know, they didn't say, well, you can't have Luis Diaz because you bought Shaqiri.
Yeah, of course.
These things need to happen at football clubs. And Arsenal look dangerous right now. Of course, it's FA Cup weekend as well, though. So there's like a little bit of a break from the Premier League for the title challenges in Liverpool and City.
I'm so tired of saying those two names, man.
I
Every year.
I hear you. I hear you. I got a question for you though.
ahead.
When we spoke about this earlier, you asked me this earlier, but I'm going to throw it back at you.
Go ahead.
The FA Cup's going on, and we'll touch on those games briefly in terms of who we think are going to win. But what would you rather? Liverpool win the league and Man United come fourth, or Arsenal come fourth? Sorry, Man United come fourth, but Liverpool win the league. Sorry, no, I've got to say that again. Liverpool win the league, and Man United come fourth.
Right.
Or Liverpool don't win the league, but it means Man United come like fifth or sixth, and Arsenal get the fourth place position.
Honestly, it'd be even better if Liverpool don't win the league and United come like ninth, so we don't have to play Europa League or Conference League. Listen, man, as a United fan, Liverpool getting number 20 and equaling us on titles is unthinkable. It's unfathomable. It's literally erasing all the work Fergie did in 26 years and in such a short amount of time. It destroys his legacy, or it doesn't destroy his legacy, but it basically just ruins it in some way, shape, or form. Liverpool cannot win the Premier League. For my own driven agendas, because I don't want Salah to win the Ballon d'Or, for the fact that Liverpool cannot match United on Premier League trophies. And also, I think even when you look at United making the Champions League, we've seen in the past, United makes the Champions League, the Glazers kind of sit back. Now our work is done. The main objective of the season has been achieved. United don't make the Champions League. Okay, how can we get back into it? How can we get the prize money? How much money do we have to spend? United making the top four does not signify a good season by any stretch of the imagination. Anyone who believes that is mental. That's the bare minimum. And I mean the bare minimum. So yeah, 100%. I would rather take City winning the league and United coming 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. 100%.
I get your logic on that, mate. I do. I can't. I
hope people are like, people are not saying, oh, he doesn't want United to succeed. Trust me, there's bigger things than United coming 4th.
No, I get that. There is almost this element of breaking it all down to start again. I don't want Liverpool to get number. I'm predicting Liverpool to win the league. I think they're going to do it. And people are like, oh, how can you be supportive of that? It's not predicting it and supporting it are two very, very different things. I predicted that Trump was going to be elected in 2016. I didn't want him to be, but I could see it coming a mile away. It just felt like he would. And I see Liverpool. I'm not comparing Trump to Liverpool, by the way. Just everybody knows I'm not comparing them. But they're going to do it. They're going to win the league, in my opinion. And they're going to match that 20. They're going to win the league. Arsenal are going to come 4th. It's going to be a painful, hard summer.
United fan suicide rates are going to skyrocket this summer.
Mate, it's going to be... sporting depression is going to kick in massively and everything else. And it changes the concept as well, because at the moment, if Pep wins, that's 4 league titles versus Klopp's 1. Klopp wins and it's 3-2. And suddenly there's a lot of like rivals that say this isn't the Klopp-Pep era, it's the Pep era. But if Liverpool win it, then it is the Klopp-Pep era, because there's a Champions League for Liverpool as well. Equally, the FA Cup this weekend, I think also bodes a sense of importance, because 100%. Because City have such a dominance of a stranglehold of the domestic trophies since Pep has been here. And Liverpool have got this, Jurgen Quad is going on, the quadruple is being discussed. And you look at the games this weekend, and I'm looking at them, and I'm just looking at them now in front of me. And I mean, they should all go through the big boys when you look at these games. On Sunday, the games as I can see them here. Liverpool away at Forest. I mean, do you see an upset there at all?
No, I don't. Forest have actually done well to get to this point, to be fair to them, but come on. Liverpool are cruising to that.
Yeah, they only, again, this is what's interesting. If Liverpool did what they've done in years gone by and sort of played an understrength team, maybe.
But here's the thing. This is where you're right, but Liverpool's understrength team these days, they've actually done such good work in the summer transfer windows to make that second team or those reserves really, really strong. Like if let's say Jota these days isn't a starter for Liverpool. It's been Mane, Luis Diaz, and Salah. So imagine you're starting Jota, Firmino, Minamino. I don't know. Thiago comes back from injury and plays a cameo this week. Like the players that are coming in for Liverpool these days is the reason why they are able to challenge on all 4 fronts. They are huge contenders for this quadruple. And if they play a weakened team against Forest, it's capable of getting a result, 100%.
No, I do get that. I do get that. And that they have that strength in depth. They're not going to go for something where they're playing beyond fringe and youth. It's going to be a strong team. I think Liverpool, they've got the bit between their teeth. Now the squad's stronger. There's no injury issues. You also go into a 2-week break after this. So you can, there's no midweek game. No, sorry, they have got a midweek game against Arsenal. But I feel like I feel they put a strong team out. They'll win that game, and then they put themselves into a very strong position. Obviously, City play Southampton, which is a tougher game. They're away from home, but again, City though they just never play a weakened side, and they do rotate. But whenever City rotate, they look just as strong. The system is ingrained. I can't see a shock there either myself.
No, 100%.
I can't see a shock.
City, especially coming off a poor result against Palace, you'll be hard found to find any result in recent years where City drops games twice in a row. It just doesn't really happen. This is where you go back to mentality. Liverpool and City have been winning the biggest games. They've been going far in every competition for years now. And I don't anticipate Southampton or Forest being the teams to stop either of them.
No, they're making this, and this will be the semi-final they go into, isn't it? So yeah, be a semi. I mean, it's looking like some major semis could be on the cards because you've got Liverpool and City that are highly likely to go through.
Chelsea, Everton, no?
You've got Everton or Palace that could go through, and I think Palace might beat Everton. Yeah, I would put my money on Palace beating Everton.
100%.
And then like Middlesbrough, Chelsea's interesting because no Chelsea fans will be there.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to have a detrimental effect as some people think it will?
It could. To be, you said it's at Middlesbrough, right?
It's up in Borough, yeah.
Listen, they can make that place a cauldron if they really want to, and they've claimed the scalps now of United and Spurs. So they're not here by chance. They've beaten some big hitters to get to this point. And it's not a great time for Chelsea at the moment. I know that they narrowly got a win against Newcastle at the weekend, but all the controversy around their club, all the stories, this takeover that still hasn't happened, club under or Roman Abramovich under sanction, it's not going so rosy off the pitch, and that can definitely carry on. If I had to put money on it, I'm going to bet Chelsea over Middlesbrough every single day of the week. But I think if there is to be a shock on the cards this weekend, which I don't anticipate, I think it comes from that game. Because Chris Wilder, too. Listen,
you know what? And you wouldn't. I love the FA Cup. The FA Cup is a trophy that if I had more power and influence, if I was a proper influencer, which I'm not,
you'd pick it up more.
Oh, it would be something. If I was one of those the big boy influencers, if I was true Geordie level, Goldbridge level, I would be pushing the FA Cup as something gargantuan. It's for me, and it's just a personal thing. It's the heritage behind it. The beauty behind it. And again, it was quite nice in a few rounds ago where some of the smaller teams scored against Chelsea and I think someone scored against Liverpool, but they were already kind of out of the game. It's so nice when you see the lower level teams score the first goal against team because you get that excitement of that we could do it. When Chelsea conceded in the last round in the opening, those kind of fans, it's different because I don't think people understand. And I've never supported a club like that. I've gone to watch Orient before. But when you support a team that's league championship to a degree, but mainly League One, League Two, and non-league, you don't pick to support that team for any other reason than local pride. Right. Because you're not picking those teams. You don't become a Plymouth fan or a Leyton Orient fan or a Barnet fan for glory. Yeah, you were never guessing that the likelihood of anyone who picks those teams, even seeing their team kick a Champions League ball,
is zero.
It's almost zero. So they pick. So when I don't think, and this is what I sometimes feel like football's become too elitist.
Oh, definitely.
I've seen like small teams score a goal and celebrate when they're already 2-0 down, and the whole crowd goes mad. And I see these, and I blame parents. And I've always talked about this. Is the parents are not educating you on the roots of football, where it come from, the working class roots of it, and the mentality behind it, and why it's so important. They're like, "Why are you celebrating when you're going out anyway? You're a dead club." And they sort of sing sort of disrespectful songs. I heard Chelsea fans sing like, "We're champions of Europe," and you'll never sing that. And I just thought for me, it was classless. And I've heard Man United fans do it away when we've been European champions many moons ago. And I find it a bit embarrassing. It feels like rich people laughing at poor people.
I mean, especially for a club that before 2004 wasn't a rich club, wasn't an elite club. You guys have paid your way to get to the elite level, quite literally, Chelsea fans. So I got nothing against your club, but the irony is crazy.
No, I completely agree. And I think from my sort of standpoint, I love it. And I would love to see Borough do it. Or there isn't any sport. I'd like Forest or Borough to do it because I think their run to get to a semi-final, to get to Wembley is again. This is what people, I know that Forest haven't been in the Prem for a long time. Borough only 10, 15, maybe a bit longer than that.
But their most recent one, they were in it recently.
Well, and they got to like a Europa League final or UEFA Cup final 15 plus years ago. But for their fans to get to Wembley,
It's huge.
that might be the best thing for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And just going to a semi-final at Wembley, again, I think us fans of the top six, we so underappreciate what it means to people to get there. So I'd love one of them to make. I'd love both to make it.
Especially Forest.
Yeah, especially. Well, of course, I don't want this quad happening. I don't want a treble happening with Liverpool. So I'd love it too. But look, I am going to predict Chelsea to go through. I think they will do it.
Yeah.
And set up what could be a gargantuan group of semi-finals. Like one of the big boys is going to get either Palace or Everton and be happy. The other two are facing each other.
Let's be honest. City is going to get one of the weaker teams.
Yeah,
always.
City,
it's just prime to be a City Liverpool
in the home
final.
dressing room against Palace. That's what's going to happen.
It's just prime to be City Liverpool final. Honestly,
yeah, it's
written.
Again, it could be FA Cup. Imagine this: Liverpool City FA Cup final, Champions League final, title run-in. It could happen.
I'm telling you, man. United suicide rates for fans is going to be sky high.
It's again for me. If we were a proper run club, that should be the motivation. Because when Liverpool won the league, I felt like as a fan, I felt like motivated. Let's go. That should be what Spurs you want.
It wakes up the club.
Yeah. Oh, it didn't.
I mean, here's another thing too, right? Kind of off topic, but I think it was Pep recently came out and said that this Liverpool side is the toughest one that he's played. I remember like 10 years ago, it was Real Madrid Barca. They played like 6 times in the space of 3 weeks. We could honestly be heading towards something like that. You're talking about the final. Imagine they play in the next round, 2 times in the Champions League, 1 time in the FA Cup final, and then 1 time in the league, which basically settles the league.
Yeah.
We're looking at this era. I mean, you're talking about the Pep era, but no, it has been the Liverpool and City era. These guys have been going neck and neck against each other on the biggest stage time and time again. And I think I think we're slowly starting to see both teams start to age, but they're just as good as ever, man.
Yeah, they're powerful. On we spoke Chelsea.
Yeah.
On them.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of sort of victimhood at the minute with fans can't go to games. We're being targeted. Blah blah blah. Do you have any sympathy for Chelsea fans at this moment in time for what's going on?
Yes and no. I think, have they been, I guess, like hurt by the side effects of the actions that have been going on? Yes. Like Chelsea fans are not directly responsible for what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. So I do have sympathy in the fact that, for example, Chelsea are not allowed to have any fans during games. Like, first, I understand like the working class background of these, especially of the English game. Like for a lot of people, the working class men, this is everything for them, going to the game on the weekend. But at the same time, there are bigger things than football. And I think especially at this current moment, that's never been more prevalent. And I think to really try and deflect what's happening on the fact that the government has some agenda against Chelsea Football Club is immature. I think it's completely insensitive. I think that the attention is wrongfully going on the wrong thing. And the guy who has been funding your club for the last 20 or so years is correctly being punished for his actions. I think as a football fan, you can be upset. You can be internally upset that you're getting some backlash from it, like you're being punished for it. But to come out here and try and frame it as some agenda or that Chelsea is at the heart of, I don't know what. I don't know the exact words to frame it, but I think there needs to be some shame gained in that area. And I loved what you said. They're showing their asses here.
Yeah, I do think they are. And I've been quite sympathetic and supportive towards Chelsea fans because everyone knows like the working class building of clubs, that the way fans are treated.
They're the core of the club. Yeah.
It means a lot to me. But there are times what I find, and this isn't a dig at Chelsea. But by the way, Man United fans would do this, Liverpool fans would do this, right. Arsenal fans would do it. We all sit there at times and whether it be with black boxes, whether it be with pray for cats, whether it be for pray for this country or pray for these people, everybody tries to show their virtuous side, their clean side, their I'm integral, I have wonderful morality within me, I would never do anything wrong. Until the virtue impacts something they care about.
Right.
And I find that with I've seen people, I've got a good friend who's a Chelsea fan, group chat with my friends, not on social media. When the Denver Bar, you remember when Denver Bar and Tuchel had the set to over the racial comment from the official? I remember him going in the group chat was going in, Tuchel's this, Tuchel's that, what a scumbag, rare. Since he's been the Chelsea manager, in the group chat, we always banter him. We're like, why haven't you mentioned that like since? He's like, yeah, but he's my manager now. So my view to him was, yeah, okay, well, like that makes me discredit everything I ever hear you say about any kind of sort of human issue that's going on, because you only care when it doesn't impact something you like. I don't. I've got to a point in life, and maybe I'm being too cynical, where I don't even trust people's stories on social media. There's 3 or 4 people that I've helped, or I know what job offers they've had, or I know what opportunities they've had because I've either been involved, helped them get them, or was on the set they were on. And I see him tweet things like, I've been grinding for all this time and I've never had any chances or opportunities. And I'm like, bruv, you didn't turn up to 3 shoots. You got offered something and said no to it. You were offered something and decided it was too much work. You didn't come to the meeting. So when I see, I know it's anecdotal, but when I see people behaving this way, where their actions don't match the things they tweet or say, it makes me skeptical of everybody and everything. And I don't believe that fans in their heart of hearts want their owners to be have integrity, be morally grounded, and have got their money through clean means. I don't think they care.
Here's the thing. I think they care, but they don't care more than seeing their football club be successful.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. But I don't think, how do I put this? I think they only care about it if it's a rival that's owner's done it and they want to put them in the mud. They want them to be banned. If it's like your owner's got blood on his hands to have his money, but it means your team can be the most successful in Europe, or you're going to sit mid-table, but with a brilliant owner, I would say 95% of football fans pick blood on their hands, put me top of the league. And I think it's the same in normal society as well. Everybody says, I want this and I want that, and I want everyone to be treated the same and everything else. I bet if you gave people an actual vote and it's like, yeah, but it means this is going to change and that will change. Or, people say things like, we should not do business with Saudi Arabia. Cool. What if I told you that this is hypothetical? Cool. We'll pull out of everything with the Saudis out of moral standpoint. But gas prices, petrol prices are going to rise from nearly at £2 now to £3.50, £4 a litre. Go into that room and vote for friendship or cut ties. People are going to go, yeah, but that impacts my business. That impacts my money. That impacts what I can do with my kids. I know it isn't morally right, but I'm putting myself first. And that's what we do as human beings. We put ourselves first. So I'm not overtly angry with Chelsea fans for putting themselves first. But stop tweeting and pretending you care about the wider issues when you don't. You care about Chelsea. In my opinion, a lot of these Chelsea fans care about what goes on at their club more than what's going on in other countries. And I'm not angry with them for that. Just stop pretending you're better than you really are. Get off social media of all your posts and pray for this and flags for these people. You don't care. Your actions show me a lot more about you than. And I used to do a lot of that stuff. I used to post things all the time. I'd do a black square for this and a pray for this and pray for that. And then I realized, you know what I'm going to do? In my actions day to day is where I'm going to make the difference. Who I employ, the opportunities I give to people, the way I treat to people on and off camera. I spoke to a brand recently that were like, can you tell me about your diversity program at the Terrace when I ain't got one? What? I said, no, I just hire the right people that are good enough for the jobs. And then when I showed them who our hosts and co-hosts are, the people that work behind the scenes on the technical side, who these people are, I showed them who they were and the profile of these people. They're like, oh, so it's very diverse. I went, yes, diversity will naturally appear if you just hire the people that are good enough for the jobs. I said, but the next 4 jobs I go out to hire for, the best 3 candidates are the same as me, is in the box you put me in. I will hire them as well without fear of it looking bad, because I hire the right people and I treat everybody the same. And I feel like that lack of genuine integrity from people and honesty is what's leading to Chelsea fans looking how they do, because it's like, well, you look like you don't care about the war. And I think a lot of the Chelsea fans are like, I do, but I think a lot of them do care more about their club than they do their situation, because that situation doesn't impact them. Right. And that's how most people are. Someone said to me, oh, but why do Europe care more about this than a war going on 8,000 miles away? It's like anything. If I told you of a major incident, there's a group of people going around hurting people on a street. Oh, where's the street? Yeah, it's 3,000 miles from your house. You're going to go, cool. If I tell you it's 4 streets away, you're going to be like, oh, when I go out, I'm going to be a bit more nervous. I'm going to be a little bit more worried because it's on your doorstep. But people don't want to hear any of this nonsense. And
people act in their own self-interest. That's the reality of the situation. You're absolutely right here. Whether it's right or wrong, that's really the reality of the world. And listen, for me, the Chelsea thing, the best way I can explain it is this is just sports washing at its purest. And I wrote an article about this earlier in the year when the Newcastle United situation, the takeover happened. I said, you guys shouldn't slate Newcastle fans. You guys shouldn't slate Newcastle pundits like Shearer going on Sky Sports and being delighted about it, because this is just the way, this is just natural. If that Newcastle takeover had happened to anyone, their core fans would be reacting the same. If I gave Man United fans the option, take the Saudis or keep the Glazers, rightfully or wrongfully, I'm sure the results of that poll, like you just said, a lot of them would want that kind of owner to come in. That's not right, but that's just in their self-interest.
You're right, mate. And this is why, and I say this, and I'm not having a pop at any of these clubs, and I know how people are going to interpret what I'm saying. I'm very open about these things because I don't care. The reason I didn't attack Newcastle for getting Saudi owners, I was more annoyed at the people that use iPhones and use Boeing jets and drinking Starbucks, moaning about it, but yet those companies they use take investment from the same people.
100%.
I don't like the virtue signaling and the hypocrisy. I use those products and I'm not prepared to stop using those products. Therefore, I won't condemn the people that help make them possible by raising the funds. I've always been like that. It's like, okay, Terry, you do realize that product you use is only available because of this wrongdoing. Are you going to condemn the wrongdoing? I'm only going to condemn the wrongdoing if I'm prepared to give the product up. 100%. And if I'm not prepared to give the product up, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to walk away from watching the Premier League. If Man United got Saudi owners, any owner from the Middle East, any owner from a country that's deemed to have problems, am I going to stop supporting Man United? Let me be brutally honest. No. So what I'm not going to do is make a big song and dance about Newcastle because I could be in a glass house with a big stone in my hand.
But here's also the difference as well. If a situation came about, so the United were owned by the Saudis, and 5 years down the line, Saudi Arabia declared war on the world or something like that, or some incident similar to what's happening now, you wouldn't glorify the Saudi Arabian owners. You wouldn't be singing songs and chants about them at games. C, you wouldn't be asking to have statues for them. And D, you wouldn't be condemning the actions that they made. You would again stick as a Manchester United fan.
I look at it this way.
I hope. Yeah.
I'm gonna name him Sly. I hope you're good, brother, if you're watching. So Sly was a friend of all of us on the estate I grew up on. And we knew what Sly used to do as a job. Do you know what I mean? If you needed some pharmaceutical help, he would help you, right? That's what Sly did. Everyone knew who he was. I used to see him in the gym a lot. This guy was always in best clothes, best cars, everything. His other half knew exactly what he did because we all grew up in the same place. She was with him. Eventually, what happens to most people in that industry is, I'm being polite when I call it an industry, is you get caught.
Right.
What does the government and essentially the government do when someone who's all their money and all their wealth and all their property has been gained through illegal means? They seize it. She went on this rampage and it wasn't fair to her because now she's homeless and her cars are gone and her money's gone because it was all taken. It's like, but you knew how he was getting it. You knew what you were getting into bed with. You knew, quite literally, you knew what the risks were, and you knew that if it got taken away, you were going to be left with nothing.
Right.
So stop moaning you're left with nothing. You made that decision. So if I'm a Man United fan and an owner comes in that's got human rights issues, shady past, could go the way that Roman's gone, I'm not ignorant to it. And if it happens, it was always a possibility. And I've said this before about this. Listen, once upon a time, the UK government and the American government were friends with Saddam Hussein. They were friends with the Bin Ladens at one point. And I'm being very broad when I say that because I'm not a political expert, but I just read these things. And I think it's fairly common knowledge that there was at times where they were allies, I say friends, allies at least. And then the world changes. Political views change. Arguments happen. I would say to Newcastle fans, don't be shocked in 5, 10, 15, 20 years if the political landscape changes and suddenly Saudi and America are not friends. Britain don't have to fall out with Saudi Arabia. If the Americans sanction them, we have to follow suit. Why? Because the majority of our businesses in the UK are part of the American stock market. If America sanctions them, we have to sanction them because it's all connected.
Facts.
It's just don't be shocked. It won't be an attack upon Newcastle. It's the people that own your club. Now, if you don't want people like that own your club, you protest it at the start,
right?
Not at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're getting someone like that, you protest at the start. You walk away from the start. You do something to try and stop it. Don't sit there and, oh, yeah, it's great. We've got it. Oh, it's fine. And then when it goes wrong, act like, how's this happened? How dare you do it? Well, of course it was going to happen. That you lived that life. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what was her name? Natasha in Power? Like you lived that dangerous life. It's like, you know what I mean? Yeah. You end up, we've taken away in a prison cell. I haven't seen the new books of I can't watch any more Power. They did my Ghost wrong. I can't watch it anymore. They did Ghost wrong. I'm never watching it again. But I might do soon. But yeah, listen, I feel sorry for the everyday Chelsea fan. Yeah. But some of the behavior from some of their supporters for me is cringy. It's wrong. You're like, accept it. Wait a minute, you're getting new billionaire owners.
Oh yeah, it's not like you guys are getting bought by some store owner down Chelsea Road, man.
Yeah, you're not going to be playing League One. You're not going to get relegated. You're not having
God.
points deductions. You've just got to change your owners for the right reasons as well. And sometimes in life, whether it's players being kicked out of squads and clubs for the right reasons, owners have been moved on, and it should happen. And that's not to say that other owners are great, that other owners in the past haven't been bad, but this is just this moment in the society that we live in. But there we go.
And by the way, if anyone's first argument is ever in any situation is, but what about Saudi Arabia? That's when you already know you're wrong in the situation. If that's your counter argument, what about Saudi Arabia in any walk of life? You're already in trouble, in my opinion.
Well, especially if you're trying to take the moral high ground.
You're right, exactly.
Because if you're saying like, well, so are you for these types of owners or against them? I'm against them. Then support what they've done to Roman. They can't do that yet to Saudi because again, this is beyond football.
100%.
This is gut. Yeah. Like I don't think people realize, and I don't like to defend politicians. Sometimes you have to be friends with people and allies with people that you don't agree with. Because over the course, what you're trying to do is create a common good at some point. It doesn't always work out, but you just have to at times. And it's not like it's not like America and England. They've been like, I always feel like with the Russia thing, there's been turmoil and like friction forever. It feels like in my lifetime, 100%. But they've tried to be diplomatic, and then it's got to this point now. So
now they're still trying to be diplomatic.
Yeah, exactly, because people want to do it that way, and it's hard because again, I'm not an expert, and I don't like to get into the nitty gritty of the political side because it isn't my forte. In fact, I'm just a football fan here. Like, let's be absolutely right. But it can be embarrassing. But there we go. Lias, been a pleasure chatting and talking. We covered Bruno, we covered fixtures, predictions.
Bruno to Saudi Arabia. The show's got diversity, bro.
Get them all out there, bro. Get them all gone. Viewers, make sure you're smashing like and share buttons, subscribing to the Football Terrace, and we'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you.
Peace.